It's gonna be a hot one in Los Angeles.
So what's on the agenda today?
Close your eyes, my son. My eyes are closed.
Hunting vampires.
Vampire hunting is a business. Cut necks and cash your checks. Well, things have changed since you got your ass kicked out the union.
If I don't come up with 10K, my wife and my daughter are gonna move to Florida.
Hi, Dad. You're late again.
And the union is the only place that could give me that kind of money.
Your record is chock full of incidents.
Bud, he's a new man.
One last chance. This is your final warning.
Let's get cracking.
Vampires just tried to kill me. Now I just pissed my favorite fucking
Hey, everybody pisses himself the first time.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you?
No, I didn't, but listen, you did.
Welcome back to the Film Reel Cast. Another week, another film. This week, I'm joined just by Neil. It's like the old days. Neil, how are you, mate?
I'm well, and I'd just like to start off by apologising for to everyone that couldn't hear me on the Prey podcast. That's probably a gift to some people not to be able to hear my voice, but I have no idea what happened, so hopefully you'll be able to hear me this week.
Yes. Well,
yes.
It'd be a weird podcast. It's just hear my voice, and it's as if I'm talking to myself.
Oh, I don't agree with you. What, yourself? Oh.
Yes, what do you think of that, really? What? Yeah, Billy No Mates pretending.
Do you know what? It might make you a millionaire, mate. Someone.
Well,
like
something has to do one day. Of all the things I perform on camera and off camera.
It'll be your looks, I guarantee it. That'll make you a millionaire.
Yeah, the John Merrick's ugly brother. But yeah, thanks to everyone who's downloaded the Prey and the Grey Man podcast. We had a bit of a break for a couple of weeks, and then we just smashed two out at once, and they've done really well. So it's great that people are still interested and still want to listen to what we've got to say. So thanks to everyone who's done that. And also on YouTube, we've everything we do, I upload onto YouTube as well. So everything's available, plus extra ones like Cobra Kai and The Shield, which I need to keep doing, just finding the time. So yeah, thanks to everyone. But this week, we are, if you listen to the last week's podcast, you know what we're doing. We are doing 2022 Netflix 100 million budget Day Shift, which is a vampire film. And I'm trying to think of the vampire films we've done previously. And I don't think we've done many vampire films.
I certainly haven't done one since I've been on the pod. I don't know if you've done Blade.
No, I don't think we have. I'd really like to do that. I love Blade. I think they're so good, and they do get shite as they go on. But,
yes.
But yeah, that's something we can put down our lists. I mean, it comes under Marvel. If we ever did a Marvel retrospective, we could put that as an add-on. But
I think so.
The first one we did was American Werewolf in London. But kind of, other than that, I mean, the rest of the guys obviously aren't on the pod, so don't have a say. I can't think of what we've done.
I looking through previously. I'm pretty sure. This is the first one.
Yeah, not even done the Lost Boys either. I mean, classic films like that. There's so many to do. But yeah, so
as it's coming up to Halloween, maybe we should do some sort of vampire-y type of thing.
It will be good. Yeah, just pick a real classic out and do that. I mean, the Lost Boys. That's such a good film. Great soundtrack. Yeah, that'll be a good one to do. But
the soundtracks, this film has got a great soundtrack.
Oh, this has got a proper old school house soundtrack, isn't it?
Yeah, it's proper sort of hip hop house. You know, a bit of R&B. It's got a bit of everything from the old school, like the
definitely.
90s. Loved it.
Yeah, it's really good. And I was really excited when this first came along and the trailer came out. It looked great. I mean, Jamie Foxx was Snoop Dogg. I mean, Dave Franco. And obviously the soundtrack, it looks so colourful and just violent. And obviously it had the added bonus of Chad Stahelski, who is one of the directors, and he directed John Wick. And that has a certain kick to this as well, because we all know the love for John Wick on this podcast, don't we?
Oh, John Wick is great. 1 and 3. 1 and 3 are brilliant.
Do you know, it's like having James on as well, you know, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I can't. I'm sorry. I don't care anything you say. I'm never going to change my opinion on that film.
No,
As
no,
neither will you, I'm sure.
no. It's just, I just love winding everyone up and telling them my love for, especially John Wick 2, which I actually genuinely do really, really like. I think they're all amazing. But this film was something that I really look forward to. And if you haven't seen it, it's on Netflix in the UK and I'm sure everywhere else. And yeah, it's $100 million budget. And it's the story is very, very simple. I mean, it's Day Shift's a Hollywood vampire action film, which is directed by J.J. Perry. It's produced by Sean Reddick, and obviously it's got other directors, Yvette Yates and Chad Stahelski, who we mentioned as well. The film stars Jamie Foxx, Dave Franco, Natasha Liu Bodozo, how you pronounce that, Megan Good, and other people as well who I can't be asked to mention. But Snoop Dogg, he looks old. Snoop does, doesn't he? Man, he made me feel old.
Yeah, he is getting on a bit now, though, isn't he?
He is, yeah.
He's been around forever.
He has, isn't he?
Dogg. Yeah. Still a legend, though.
Oh, he's still brilliant. Still so good. Yeah, and it's got a blue-collar dad who's a pool cleaner in the San Fernando Valley. Is a vampire hunter, and he works for a union. And during the day, he hunts vampires, and he has to pay for his family to stop his ex-wife, kind of current wife and daughter, moving to Florida. And basically, that is the story. It's not complicated. But I was looking, we were talking before we actually did the pod about the money, how much people earn. And guess how much Jamie Foxx earned out of this?
£100 million budget.
Yeah.
Or let's say a cool 20.
That's not bad. He had $10 million out of this.
Oh, I'm surprised. I thought it'd be more.
Yeah, I thought it'd be more as well. I thought he had quite a big wage, but it's funny because Dave Franco, who plays Seth, he got $1 million.
Cool.
And yeah, just a cool million. And it's Scott Adkins. I love Scott Adkins. You've got Nazarian Brothers, who are just brilliant. I want the Nazarian Brothers to have their own series. They were just that good.
Really?
Yeah, they're just so much fun. I just love the violence. So Scott Adkins, who's an actor, he's done a lot of other films as well. That he got just 250 grand for this, which isn't bad. He's on it for what, 10 minutes? Do you think?
Yeah, I mean that is not a bad day's work. And to be fair, Dave Franco getting paid a cool milli just for playing a bit of a buffoon and pissing himself.
Yeah,
it's not a bad day's work, is it?
It's not bad. It's not bad. And guess how much Snoop Dogg got then? Bear in mind how long he's on the screen for, which is how long do you think he's on the screen for?
17 minutes tops, I reckon.
That's pretty precise. Have you looked at that?
I haven't actually at all. No.
Right, I was going to say, wow, that's pretty good, mate.
Oh, really?
But he got paid $2 million for his time.
Oh, 2 million.
Yeah.
For roughly 17 minutes.
It's mental, isn't it? It really is.
Just goes to show his draw, though, doesn't it? I'm
Well,
guessing they were hoping that him being in the film would be a big draw for people to watch it. But there again, like I said when we did the trailer review for it, as soon as I saw him with a minigun, I was all in.
Yeah.
So
that's pretty epic, that gun. It's just so good. It kicks major ass, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does, yeah.
So when you got Jamie Foxx here, where are you with Jamie Foxx?
I'm a bit indifferent to him, to be honest. I can't say I'm a fan or not, to be honest. He was good in Django.
Which we have reviewed.
Yeah, and Collateral, that's another good film that he's in. So, yeah, I think he's pretty good. He's fantastic in Django Unchained. I think that's a cracking film. So,
yeah, he's brilliant.
What about you?
I never really liked him. I've always thought he was quite overrated, and until he took on some quite challenging roles, Django being one of them, and I was really, really impressed. I thought he was really good, and he's not frightened to take any role in particular, regardless of the film. And when he can be an Oscar winner, he can kind of command a fair salary. I really liked him in Collateral with Tom Cruise. I mean, everyone knows I'm a huge Tom Cruise fan, but that's a really, really good film. And
It is. Yeah.
yeah, I like him in that a hell of a lot. So yeah, I'll come round, and in this film he looks ripped. He's big, isn't he? I've never seen him this big.
Yeah, he's clearly worked out for the role, hasn't he? Or maybe just
Yeah,
in general. But he's looking good. He's looking tight.
he is looking doid like a doiger, and it's nice to see Dave Franco kind of one up on his brother, whose career has, to a certain degree, kind of come off the rails. Really, I mean, it was massive with Spider-Man. And then he did a few films with what's his name, Seth. He's one who's stoned all the time. I can't think of his surname now.
I know who you're talking about. The fat
Yeah.
one that's now thin.
Yes, the fat
Yeah.
one who's now thin. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did loads of films of him, and his career hasn't kind of gone on from there. But then there's no second film been announced yet. I did some research because there is a whole lot of potential for this film to have a franchise with it. But I mean, I really like Dave Franco in this. As you said, he's just plays like a buffoon, but I think the chemistry, and it's like a buddy cop film to a certain degree, isn't it?
Definitely has a buddy cop vibe as it goes on, most certainly. And yeah, their relationship, you see that grow throughout it. But yeah, I think Dave Franco's all right in it, to be honest. He plays the character he's asked to play really well. He's believable, which is good. You believe that is who he is.
Yeah, completely agree. I love his character. I think, and I love the progression. There are some questions in this that you think, how, why? Please explain. But as an intro to a film, it's really, really good. As I say, you've got Jamie Foxx, who's the pool cleaner, whose name's Bud, and he turns up and he starts cleaning the pool, and then he goes into this house, and he's got like a balaclava, he's got a shotgun. And you kind of, what's going to happen, and you know why he's after, but it goes to such an extreme, doesn't he? When he goes into that bedroom and there's that old lady there, and he just puts the cushion up and shoots her. And what I love about this is that the extreme they take things to. When people get shot with shotguns, they go flying, and it's just ultra violent. And he shoots this old lady about 10 foot down this corridor. It's just mental, isn't it?
Oh, it's nuts. I didn't quite understand why he used the cushion, to be honest.
No.
You don't go into a house with a shotgun preparing to be quiet. So it did confuse me a little bit. But,
yeah, it kind of wasn't to muffle the noise from who. I don't quite get it.
It's like, that's a really strange choice. But
Yeah.
no, brilliant action, absolutely brilliant opening to a film. Like, and the fact that they've just got this old lady and just doing all sorts of ridiculous contortion and stuff like that, it's quite nice. It's refreshing to have it, and sort of this, you think, oh, it's just a little old lady and she kicks ass. It's brilliant.
Yeah, and I think it works so well to an extreme. And you talk about the contortionists. I mean, the contortionist vampires were hired performers from Cirque du Soleil, weren't they?
Oh, were they really?
Yeah, they were. Yeah, so in this way they could show the different types of vampires, and it gave jobs for the local performers during the COVID-19. Yeah, so they got paid, and obviously it eased up on the special effects, but it brings the live kind of and not animation, but live effects, I suppose, for want of a better word. And they look so good, and they get in so many weird positions. It's just unreal. It's just so weird, isn't it, when you see them bend their backs the way that nature doesn't intend.
Well, that's the thing, because I'll be honest with you, I thought it was all CGI, and that's credit to the film, I think, in a sense, because if I honestly didn't realise that it was real.
Yeah, it's just insane, and I think some of them does look like a rag doll that's been thrown around, but to a certain degree, when they're kind of bent on the tables and they're in the house scene with the Zarian brothers, I mean, the contortionist there is just unreal. It really is just, it's sickening the way they can bend their bodies. It just isn't natural. I struggle to bend down, keeping my legs straight. About what they do.
Yeah, no, me too. I struggle to put my leg out straight when standing up. So, yeah.
But the fight is brilliant, and the fact that it's a so-called old lady, forget the fact that she's a vampire, that he's fighting an old lady who's just jumping around everywhere. It's just brilliant. And again, that kind of the cutthroat wire he puts over the table, puts over the door frame is so good. And it comes into play. But I do like the Lost Boys effect of when he's fighting her in front of the mirror. And obviously vampires famously don't have a reflection. They've just got everything. They've covered all the bases, haven't they?
Yeah, they have. They've gone really into the whole sort of ethos of a vampire. You know, like you say, reflection. They talk later on, don't they, about wood, sort of stake through the heart type stuff, silver, and everything else. It's good. They sort of kept it to, proper, if you like.
Yeah, definitely. And they've added a few new kind of formulas as far as I'm aware with regards to different types of vampires. Yeah. But it's really good. And he does get her, and he finally pins her down, and he drives that knife all the way through her arm and cuts her head off to take her teeth out, which we find he collects the teeth.
Yes.
And then another vampire runs through, and all you do is just hear a ping, and he's run through that cheese wire made of silver, and it takes his head off, and then he shoots him from behind with a shotgun. It looks incredible, doesn't it? It's just so much fun.
Oh, it's brilliant fun. Doesn't need a cushion that time, though. Funnily enough.
He's absolutely wrecked this house. So, yeah, he's gone past the cushion stage. Yeah. But it's such a good intro.
Oh, it really is.
Yeah, and it's great. And I love the fact that it pulls the teeth out, because I've not seen any other film when they collect like the vampire's teeth. And they do bring the vampire mythos into it with regards to that's the only thing that doesn't regenerate and off a vampire, and they're obviously worth lots of money. But I don't understand why when he leaves he takes her old dress. I know he's got blood on his overalls that he wore. What was the point of him wearing her dress back? I mean, surely he could just take the overall off and just walk out with a vest on. Yeah,
I didn't quite get that either, mate. I must be honest. I don't know if it was just for comedy effect for the audience. There must be a reason behind it, but fucked if I know what it is.
Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense.
No.
And then we get someone who is just like me when they're in front of the sun. We get Seth, who's being baked alive in front of the sun. Seth's another vampire, and then we get introduced to Carla Souza, who plays Audrey San Fernando, who is like the leader of the vampires in the San Fernando Valley. And it's a real simple plot, if I've understood it right, which I probably haven't, that she's kind of an estate agent, a realtor, and she's buying up all of the houses in San Fernando Valley, and then they're just going to move vampires in and take over the whole valley. That's it, isn't it?
Yes, basically. She goes into it later on, doesn't she, about the fact that people used to worship vampires, and then they rebelled and everything else like that. So she's trying to rebuild the vampire race as the higher race and all that sort of stuff. So yes, you're right. That is the plot.
And she's devised what I need when I go on holiday to Spain, some super sun cream that they can wear.
Yes.
For like 3 to 4 hours actually in the valley and not get burnt whatsoever.
Which is, clever, but she's not wearing any in this scene.
No.
But it's made out of turtles, I believe.
It is.
Desert turtles or something.
Desert turtle skins or shells or something like that, and that's it. And but so it's really, really good. And they've got some really good, like, original ideas when it comes to the vampires. And one of them I do like is the fact that when you do kill a vampire, they give off this scent that other vampires can then like smell out and realize that you've killed a vampire, which I don't know whether that's been used in other films. I have no idea, but it's really clever, and it brings in to the joke of that Jamie Foxx has created this yellow powder which looks like turmeric and rubs his body with it. And the clip later on when he does go out with Dave Franco with Seth, and he tells him not to get it in his eyes or his asshole.
You gotta get some of this too. I'm sure you know this, Mr. Union Man, but when vamps are killed, they release a gas that gets on you that other vamps can sniff out in a second. So you gotta get all of that off. Here, take this. It's my special blend, like a little skunk musk, okay? Now, get that on you in the shower, Jesus. On every inch of you, okay? And be extremely careful. Don't get it in your eyes. And whatever you do, don't get it in your butthole.
What happens in the butthole?
Can't kill you, but Jesus Christ.
Which is so good. And what makes me laugh is the way that he describes the warnings of not to get it on your asshole, and it's the comedy side of this is really, really good.
Yeah, a lot of one-liners, isn't it? And very dry. It's delivered very dry, and it's brilliant.
Yeah, very, very dark humor.
Yeah, it's good.
And obviously, these kind of films, without having something to lose, are just nothing. The stakes in this, and we're introduced to a broken family. He's got his daughter, and he's got his wife as well.
Yes.
And you learn that they're leaving and they risk to go to Florida, and they need to pay for school fees, etc., etc., which is kind of the motivation of why he needs to do what he does. So he needs to come up within a week. He needs to come up with $10,000, and which is good in a way because it sets the clock ticking, doesn't it? This film needs some kind of motivation, really, doesn't it? Otherwise, it's just going to be another drawn-out vampire film.
Oh yeah, no, completely. And it is the sort of standard one, isn't it? Dad gonna lose family, must have money in time or do something in time. So it's a proper generic one, but it works. And I have to say, I really like the relationship between Jamie Foxx and his daughter in this. I think they're brilliant together.
Yeah, it does work out really well, and I love the way they've got really, really believable chemistry. And even I like his wife is really attractive, and I like the chemistry they've got, because it could have been a real trope, as in very similar to the relationship that Martin Lawrence has got with his wife in Bad Boys. Yeah. Which is way over the top, kind of exaggerated arguments and about real tropey subjects, but they do well to avoid things like that, which I think benefits us, like the audience, the viewer.
Oh yeah, definitely. You can tell that there's still feelings there, but it's Jamie's cocked up one too many times, so she's had enough, sort of thing.
Yeah, and all the reason being because he's cleaning pools and he comes up with really crap excuses as to which pools he's cleaning, and the fact is obviously not bringing in the money and leaving everyone in debt. So it's a good reason. And you know, when he goes to see the next character, obviously he takes the teeth out and he sells these teeth. And he goes to a shop, and it's like very kind of traditional behind the scenes. They do this, and Peter Stormare, who plays Troy, and I've seen him. He's one of those guys who is that guy who I've seen in so many different things that I just can't picture.
Completely. I was trying to picture him, and I was thinking, is it like reminds me of something out of Men in Black? Or
I think, and it is. He played the baddie in Bad Boys 3. I think when they go into that house and they're looking after those rats and they're spraying stuff. And I swear he's the baddie. He's that guy who I know he's been in stuff.
He's definitely been in stuff. I swear he's been in Men in Black, maybe Men in Black 2 or something like that. I'll have to look him up, to be honest. This shocking podcasting from me right here, but there we go. But yeah, definitely recognisable. Always plays the bad guy or a bit of a douche, which he plays in this one.
Yeah, and he's really, really good, and he's the one who's selling Jamie Foxx is selling the teeth to, and I get the impression that Fox is being mugged off by Troy. Troy is only offering him shit money for these teeth, and Jamie Foxx. Do you think he's being hustled by Troy? I think he is.
Oh, massively being hustled by him. He's a proper crim, isn't he? He just wants what he can get out of everyone. And it's quite funny because he goes, yeah, it would be worth that, but now I know you're desperate.
Yeah, that's so good. You've really played your cards so early on this.
Yes, well, I'm now really going to fuck you over.
Yeah, so much to the extent that he even walks out of the building without his Jordans. It's just an all-time low.
Yeah, definitely. It's brilliant.
And the plot gets kind of moved on more, where you see Audrey, and again, the guy who's like Audrey's henchman or right-hand man, I've seen him in other things as well, and he is just that guy. It doesn't have a speaking role. I hardly think he says a word in this, really, apart from at the end of it when they have that fight. But it turns out they go to the old lady's house, and she's not an old lady. She's turned out to be Audrey's daughter.
Yes.
Who, even though she is old, it's because she wasn't changed until later on, and Audrey came back to America to get her daughter and to change her. So, and because they're vampires, Jamie Foxx was injured with a piece of glass, so they can smell his blood, which again is another plot driver as to they want to hunt down Jamie Foxx and take him out to get revenge. So it's kind of all sewn together, nice and neat in a package in it for us.
Oh, very much so, yeah, because he gets glass in him, doesn't he? And it's quite foreshadow, really, isn't it? Massively. That's what they use later on to figure out it was him and find out who he is and all this sort of stuff. And yeah, and it pushes the film along even quicker.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so no, definitely.
And I was thinking of her character, the lady who plays Audrey, Natasha Lou Bordizzo, however you pronounce that. I think when I was watching this with my better half, that her character, I think Salma Hayek would have played this so much better and with a lot more sass, and I think would have been a much better character. She doesn't do a bad job, but she's a bit she hasn't got a lot of character, a lot of drive. She doesn't light up the screen. I think she's boring. Her presence is. I think Salma Hayek would have been brilliant for this.
Oh, definitely. I think she's a bit generic, isn't she?
Yeah.
To be honest, I felt exactly the same. To be honest, I thought that someone else, maybe they couldn't get Selma. Maybe she was busy doing something better. I can't imagine
shame.
what, but yeah.
It would have been great, because especially if you've got the roots there, with From Dusk Till Dawn, it would have been a nice kind of, not a crossover, because they're obviously two separate films and two separate universes, but she's obviously great at that, and she's more of a presence on screen, even just by looks alone. But she's a great actress, and I think she would have worked out so much better. And I think that's proven the point when you've got someone like Snoop Dogg. He's not a great actor at all, but and even when you look at Starsky and Hutch when he plays Huggy Bear in that, but he just manages to have that presence on screen. He's so cool, and what he says just sounds good. And I think that's what they miss from the baddie, and that was the biggest letdown for this, that the big bad doesn't come across as someone who's interesting to listen to, and I think it's such a shame.
Yeah, no, I can't disagree with you, mate, at all. I think, I completely agree. I wish they had found someone else, not trying to discredit her in any way. I'm sure she's a very good actress, but just didn't really work. Not enough presence on screen at all. Completely agree. Which
is weird with a $100 million budget, and you can think. I know they obviously spent 10 million of that on Jamie Foxx, but
2 million on bloody Snoop Dogg.
Well, yeah, I know. Imagine if someone who was real A-star came along, and they'd probably demand 20 million. The budget would have gone. Probably that's what the problem was.
Maybe that's it. Maybe,
But they do go, and there is a union, very much like, and you kind of referenced Men in Black earlier, that to get the most money, and obviously Jamie Foxx needs that money, that he meets up with Snoop, and who's like they call him like the Black Cowboy. He's like Big John, isn't he? And he'll get more money selling those teeth through the union, but we learn he's been kicked out through the union because Jamie Foxx doesn't really have any regard for any of the rules. That's very popular anyway. Want him in there.
Yeah, no, he keeps cocking up and doing stupid things, and when he goes to the meeting with the boss, it's quite funny because he basically just rips him apart, saying you've broken all these violations, and why the hell should I give you another chance? And everything, but because he loves Big John so much, there's like, oh, I'll give you one more chance, sort of thing.
Yeah, I'd like to have known more about the union kind of setup. I mean, they do make a joke out of it, and it's pretty good when he's chatting there. I mean, that is a massive mullet that guy's got on. It is pretty impressive, isn't it?
Oh, massively. That's such a bad wig, isn't it? There's no way that's his hair.
I'd like to think that isn't his hair. It's yeah, it's really, really terrible.
It's
But
horrendous.
and what I did like is when they do go to the Union, you've got Big John there, that everyone, all the women clearly fancy him,
Oh yeah.
and they've all got time for him. And even when Jamie Foxx speaks to him, they all blank him, and no one
Yeah.
can give a shit that he's there. And it's just got that presence. It's just quite funny. And the only reason he gets in the Union is because Snoop Dogg vouches for him, and obviously it's the last chance. This is it now.
Yeah, no, brilliant, and it's quite funny, isn't it? He's like, because Snoop's like, he's a changed man. He goes, yeah, I'm a changed man. I've cut out pork and cartoons. And Snoop just sort of rubs his head, doesn't it? Oh my God, shut up!
Yeah, I'm vouching for you.
Trying to get you back in, and you're talking about fucking pork and cartoons. You dick. It's hilarious. I love it.
The great intro,
Yeah.
and I like the intro again to Dave Franco. He's a union rep. He's a pen pusher. He sits behind the desk, and he's not a field officer. And the initial meeting, he instantly winds Jamie Foxx up, where he gives him 10 grand for the teeth because he'd get more money at the union. Then he instantly takes. He must take about 5-6 grand back, and he's taxed for every single thing.
Mr. Jablonski?
Yeah, teeth. I'll look at it. I'll get back out there.
Is the net for the teeth.
Yeah, because I was thinking, hey.
However, due to the truncated processing time, Mr. Seeger would like me to inform you that we need to settle your dues up front, which, of course, is $5,000.
5,000, I thought it was 2.
Those are 2017 rates, Mr. Jablonski. Then there is 15% off the top of every fang. And we have to hold 50% until we receive your paperwork. Oh, and of course, $10 for your membership card, which, by the way, gets you 1 free app at the Cheesecake Factory.
I don't like cheesecake.
Do you have that on you?
Why don't you take the $10 out of that? You taking everything else?
You don't have any cash on you? You really want to make me split this?
And you learn that he's someone who follows the rules, and you need that. He's a complete opposite to Jamie Foxx, isn't he?
Oh, the complete opposite. He's an absolute nerd, isn't he? And
Yeah.
the book and everything, and it's brilliant. But just before Jamie Foxx and Snoop turn up, and he turns around and he says, "Carol, have you eaten my yogurt?" Again, it had my name on it, you know. And then he turns around and he says, oh, "Next time I'm going to fart in my yogurt, and then you're going to eat my farts." I thought, oh, that is fucking brilliant. That's something, you know, you'd love to think of yourself, isn't it? So
It is.
I'll teach you.
Yeah, that's something James would say.
Yes,
But-
it is definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, it really, really is. You go down to that child's level when you're going to say exactly that thing. It's so funny.
Fuck you, Carol. Love it.
And when they do get out in the field, I love the narration, the short intros about the different vampires, like the juvenile vampires, the Eastern, Western, and different. They've all got different traits, and you kill them in a different way. And they kind of like have a knowledge battle when they're out together, don't they? Jamie Foxx and Franco. I love this scene. I think the chemistry flows so well.
Yeah, no, their relationship blossoms. It's quite sort of tropey to begin with, isn't it? When he goes to the workshop and stuff, and he's like, "Don't do that, don't touch this," and he keeps making silly mistakes and just pissing it, and he's just being an absolute dick to him for just because he doesn't want him there. But yeah, as it goes on, it's good.
Yeah, it's good, isn't it? And as you say, it does start off tropey, and it has been used in so many different films. Leave this alone, it's my stuff, don't touch it. And you kind of ignore that and get through it because you know you're going to get through it, and the characters are going to evolve. And I do like it when he's talking about the Southern Eastern Spider Uber juvenile vamps, and it's quite interesting, and it sets up the story for later on when he talks about that they're all solitary and they don't mix together. And it's just quite interesting, as well as it's telling the audience of what to expect later on. It shows that Franco's character does sit behind a desk, but he knows his stuff. And when they get to the bowling alley, because they're purely hunting, and obviously hence why it's called day shift, because the danger is at night and it's easier to hunt during the day. And because Jamie Foxx is on a warning, to a certain extent, probation, he can only hunt during the day shift. And the bowling alley scene, I think it is really good. The shooting, the fighting, it's great. It's such an extreme so quickly, isn't it?
Oh yeah, I mean, this thing you think it's going to be sort of quite a quick job, if you like, and then yeah, you just basically it goes absolutely mad in there, and funnily enough, he sort of comes to the rescue a bit, doesn't he?
Yeah, he
Sort
does.
of.
Yeah, sort of. Yeah, he kind of comes to the rescue and he does bail him out and he does save him from these juvenile vampires.
Yeah.
But it's so funny. The bit at the end when he gets out and he realizes that he's wet himself is so funny.
You okay? What's going on?
Oh, come on. No, I'm not okay. All right? Look at me. Vampires just tried to kill me. You put a gun in my face and now I just pissed my favorite fucking suit.
Hey, relax, right? You did good in there. You did good in there. Besides, everybody pisses themselves the first time.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you?
No, I didn't. But listen, look, you did.
You did though.
Yeah, he just fucking rinses him because the idea is that he's been set up that he knows that Seth, Dave Franco's character, is by the book. So he said, if you get a certain amount of violations, we can kick him out, and it's going to be super easy.
Yeah.
And the character obviously evolves, and their relationship does, but it goes in different direction. But whilst they're doing that, it goes back to Troy's character, who Fox was earlier trying to sell the teeth to, and Audrey hunts him down.
Yeah.
And she wants to know who sold the tooth. And again, I like the fact that the way she does it, and she stabs his hands together so he can't escape. But I don't know, it just seems such a generic scene. She lacks this screen presence and energy still, doesn't she?
Yeah, completely. It was so obvious what was going to happen. It was just, yeah, he's not going to tell you, all right, you're going to torture him. And then, oh, he's going to tell you anyway. And then you're going to kill him. It was obvious what was going to happen. And like you say, it's a shame. It is a shame, to be fair, due to her screen presence. But it was a generic, wasn't it? Like you said, it was going to happen. You knew what was going to happen. So
Yeah, no, completely. And it was weird because later on, when he goes back to his housing complex, and he meets his new neighbour who lives at number 19, that female who's carrying all that washing. Conveniently, they bump into each other on the balcony. And she just says that I do all my washing at once, hence why I'm kind of been standing here waiting for you to come. That you instantly knew she was a vampire, didn't you?
Well, she looks like a vampire, doesn't she?
Yeah. Yeah, she does. She looks... it's weird. No, there's no fat, ugly vampires in this, is there?
No. Unfortunately, I will never get a role in these films as a vampire.
You're so harsh, mate. You're so harsh.
That's just being factual, mate. That's all it is.
You really are.
I'll wait for that phone call. It's never going to happen. So, yeah.
But they do go. He obviously does go and see Troy, and well, he tries to go and see Troy, and works out that Troy's dead. But he doesn't know why. He doesn't know who's onto him, and it kind of it doesn't really play out to me. There's no stakes. There's no real loss because we haven't been invested enough in Troy to miss him.
No.
And it's not and you don't care for any grief that Jamie Foxx has got that he's trying to share and show the audience that he does miss him. It just doesn't mean anything, does it?
No, they tried to show that there's a sort of friendship there, some sort of relationship, but like you say, there's not enough of it. There's not enough background or anything for you to really be invested in it. But it's just another plot driver, really, isn't it? That she now knows who he is.
Exactly.
Like that.
And I'd rather them use that because they do spell Bud's name out with his teeth, which I did like. I thought that was good. And it was better that it was a concern for himself and his family, of Bud's family, than any loss of Troy. And if he would have gone down that route of you killed my friend,
Oh
it would
yeah.
have just been nonsense. Because the only time we've seen Troy is when he tried to hustle Bud out of money and fucking fleeced him for his trainers, which I would have got back off his fucking dead feet, to be honest.
Oh, definitely. You're not going to give up a pair of Jordans, are you? To be
No.
fair. So.
No, my son wears them and they're ridiculously expensive.
Oh fucking hell! You earn too much money, mate.
He earns too much money. I
Oh, is
don't.
that what it is? Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, I can't wait till he's got the same size feet as me. Then I can actually wear them as well.
What happened to my Jordans, Dad? I don't know.
Yeah,
No
no
idea.
idea. You've grown out of them. I wear them now. But
Amazing.
it does lead to, for me, one of the best parts in the film when they go and track down again. They're day hunting on the day shift, and they go and meet in the Zarian brothers, and they obviously are notorious hunters because you get Seth Dave Franco goes a bit fanboy, and even Jamie Foxx Bud says, "Look, do you want me to go and get a selfie for you?" And it's just good. I love that. It's just the piss take. The only downer are the really poor accents. Scott Adkins is brilliant at martial arts, action films. Find him out on IMDb and look at the films he's done. They're terrible, but the action is really good. But the accent is shit, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it's not good. It's not good. It's not believable at all. But
You wonder why they do this, don't you? That if it's like part of a universe where you've got these characters who are in comic books who are already established, that you think, well, they have an accent. But if they say, yeah, I'm going to write this in, you're going to have these accents. I mean, he's English. Why don't you just have one English guy and the other guy is a mute and doesn't speak? And that's what they do or something. These fucking terrible accents. They're shockingly bad.
that's the thing, though, isn't it? It's what they do. I'm sure no one knows enough about day shift to really give a shit how they speak. It should just be about the performance rather than trying to do something they can't do.
Yeah.
Get someone that can do that accent if you are that way inclined to really have it that way. But yeah, it tarnishes it because you end up, unfortunately, listening to how they speak rather than what they're saying.
You do. You listen to how he pronounces words.
Yeah. It's the natural thing, isn't it? You're like, what? And it does take you out of it, unfortunately. As good as the scene is, it still takes you out of it, unfortunately.
Yeah. Because you don't watch Scott Adkins films for his acting ability, and he should know that. Everyone should know that. And yeah, it's just nonsense. But I did like the fact that they made Seth, Dave Franco's character, put a neck brace on to stop getting bit on the neck. I thought that was a lovely touch. It's really original. I've not seen that in any film. You'd think that makes total sense, doesn't it?
It does, to be fair. I'm surprised they don't all wear them, to be honest. But I suppose they're badasses. But it's brilliant. It's a complete piss take out of him, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, fucking
yeah, they just fucking, they rinse him. And when they go into this house, they soon realize it's a hive, and it's just full of different vampires, and it's full of like the 5 sets of vampires we mentioned earlier, who traditionally do not hang out together, but they are here. And the action is just non-stop. Again, it goes back to the contortionists of the choreography. All of it is so good, and it's so quick, and it's like a computer game through various doors in the house. They just keep coming, and they just keep getting chopped down. For me, it's the best bit of the action in the whole film. I don't know where you stand.
No, it's very good. It's very well done, to be fair. I think there's a couple of sort of tropey bits with catching bullets and other bits like that, but you come to expect that in these type of films. But some of the action is brilliant, like where he chops that one's head off because his head's gone through the TV, so he kicks it and it chops his head off. I thought that was really quite original.
Yeah.
So yeah, I really enjoyed it, to be honest. I thought it was very well done.
It is good. And as you say, it's weird because it's so strange that depending on the film you watch and the action, and it's just, I suppose to a certain extent, the script of what you're willing to kind of let slip when it comes to terrible things happening. And that when Scott Adkins asks his brother for a bullet and he flicks one out, and he does that tropey thing of flying through the air, catching it in his gun and shooting. Normally in any other film, and I admit, like, shoot 'em up is not a good film. But that's the kind of thing you'd expect poorly to be done in that. And in this film, because the action is so quick and it's so much fun that it's almost forgivable, isn't it, when you get tropey things like that?
Yeah, you roll your eyes, but because it's not constant, like there's a lot of action in this film, but it's not all the time. If you see what I mean, they've got nice breaks of comedy and sort of trying to build the story up. So, you know, you have it's like when Jamie Foxx spins the machete round the guy's neck and to chop his head off, and it's, you know, it's complete bollocks. These people aren't superheroes or anything like that. You know, they're just normal people, but you do just accept it because it's actually fun. Whereas, like you say, shoot 'em up, it was just constant, and there was so much. It was so ridiculous. It was trying to outdo itself with more and more ridiculous things. There's not a lot of it in this, if you see what I mean.
No, and as you say, it's weird because you do let it go. And there's been so many films that we've watched, and especially when we did, like The Expendables, that you do get just fatigued of the action because they can't think of an intelligent script, and the actors aren't able to carry it, any kind of script and like technical dialogue. That let's just have a shoot up and an explosion. But this film doesn't have to do that, thankfully. Otherwise, I think if you did get fatigued, it would really be a different kind of film. I think you'd come away different.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's just it's stupid and it doesn't work in the sense of it is tropey, but it's such a fun film that you get away with it. You get away with it.
Yeah, at the end of it, when all the vampires are dead, and they're kind of high-fiving and fisting, and they look down, and obviously Franco's pissed himself. His line when he goes, "Yeah, it's kind of my thing."
Defending himself by saying, "Yeah, I piss myself during fights. That's what I do."
It just fucking cracked me up. It's so funny that it's his thing to do.
Yeah.
And what did you think? He gets his daughter and takes her to a birthday party, and halfway through the party, he gets a call from Audrey, who basically says, "I'm coming after you. I know who you are." Troy has basically given his name, and then they have that car chase, and it's set in the same place as Terminator 2, isn't it? When they go down to those kind of big drainage flood places, isn't it?
Yeah, just before that, sorry, Stu, when they're in the car ride on the way back, and they starts talking about the Twilight series.
Oh yeah, that made me think of last week.
Yeah, definitely. But it was just
we
just
spoke
funny.
about Twilight. Yeah.
And he's talking about it like just like saying all these names, and he said, "Why are you recapping the names to all the Twilight films?" It's like, shit. He knows what. Oh, you know, he's calling him out that he's a massive nerd.
You know what I see when I see a vamp? Big old dollar signs. So all they are is murderers and liars. It ain't Brad Pitt in a leather jacket and some blood raves. It's not Eclipse. It's not New Moon. It's not Breaking Dawn Part 1. It ain't like that, all right?
Why do you know the names to all the specific Twilight films? What? And what's your gripe with Breaking Dawn Part 2? It's the exciting conclusion of the whole Twilight saga. Have you seen Part 2? Bella has her baby now. It's insane.
And I did like that. But
yeah, that's weird. Even when I watched it again today, and they speak about the Twilight films, and they speak about Breaking Dawn Part 2.
Yeah.
And it's just so funny because last week on the pod we spoke about me liking it, and you guys think it's utter shit. But yeah, and he talks about Bella having the baby, and I could relate to all of that, and it did make me chuckle. I thought, I'm sticking with it. Jamie Foxx is cool enough to watch the Twilight and get into it, then I'm going to watch it as well.
No, unfortunately, it's lost a point. No, I'm joking. I had no idea until he turned around and said, "Why are you naming the Twilight films?" I was like, "Oh, is that what that is?" And then it instantly made me think of you and last week, and it made me chuckle.
Yeah,
so, yeah. But
I'm sticking with it, mate. I do like Twilight. I really do.
That's fine. We're all allowed to watch and enjoy shit films. It's
The Matrix. So, what did you think of the car
I like
chase?
Doom, so I can't talk, can I?
Oh God, yeah. Did you like the
Exactly.
car chase, or was it too much?
Do you know what? It was quite fun. What I really didn't like is the fact that the daughter was okay with it
Yeah,
and
that
she
is
was enjoying it.
exactly. Well said, mate. Well said. I completely agree.
It was just bollocks, wasn't it? Really, oh, Daddy's going to be doing some daddy driving or whatever it was, some
Yeah,
special driving, and she's like, "Wee, yeah," playing her game, and it's just. Then she starts saying, "Oh, it looks like you need some help." And it's like, fuck off. She'd be petrified.
yeah,
No, it's it,
yeah. That's the weird thing that I found. That yeah, you've got this young kid in the car. They're being shot at by geezers on motorbikes, and then these other 4x4s. She has got no problem. I understand she feels safe with her dad. Any other kid will be crying and be hysterical. And yeah, she has no issues with it. She doesn't understand why they're doing it. And yeah, but yet she's got no problem. It really was a weird decision. It didn't make sense.
yeah, completely. It ruined it, and I think, you know, best bits, worst bits. This is the worst bit about this film. It completely took you out of it. It was doing quite well up until this point, and then it was just like, no, you've really done shoot 'em up on this bit.
Mm.
It's just completely unbelievable.
And you didn't need a car chase
No,
because she was at the party and he got that phone call, so he knew his family's life was in danger. He could have just said to her, "Let's go back home and let's get mum, ring mum up to say pack your bags," and then skip the car chase and then come back and then go to this scene. You just didn't need it. I don't
yeah,
know whatever it was for product placement side of it. I don't understand it, but yeah, you're right. It didn't make sense that the daughter was fine being in a life or death car chase. And again, they did this tropey thing that they do in all of these films. When they get back to rescue the wife, obviously Audrey's there, the vampires are there, and rather than kill his wife,
yeah,
kill his daughter in front of him, she reveals the whole plot. And then you see Seth, you see Dave Franco on the floor, and they make the strange decision of, we're going to leave you unconscious and Dave Franco is going to eat you. And that's what
yeah.
they're banking on. Their whole plot is banking on this, which doesn't make sense.
Do you know what? It made me think of Austin Powers.
Yes. Yeah.
It's just so tropey, isn't it? It's a really poor decision. Really, it's lazy, to be honest.
Yeah, it is. As Deadpool says, it's lazy writing.
Yeah,
But why would, because this has been done in so many films, and even when I watched this first time, and I spoke to the wife tonight, that why have they left him in a room rather than sacrifice him? That would have been more impactful. That they would have just seen he would have seen his wife and kid get their heads cut off and just leave him to die, leave him alive, even like that, just to live with the fact that he's seen that. That would have been so much better. But I mean, it does
yeah,
bring the element of comedy and I do like the way Dave Franco plays being a vampire. And it's brilliant. And it's quickly rescued this scene from being nonsense to him being so shocked, and the fact that he feels great, that his blood and all his senses are heightened, his blood is boiling, he's on fire, and then Jamie Foxx cuts his head off.
it is good, isn't it? It's fantastic. It's like this massive high to, oh fuck, his head's been chopped off, and the fact that he's sort of saying, "I'm really sorry," and all this, and he starts talking to him, and he's
Yeah,
just a head. It's just, oh, it's good.
there he goes. Yeah, feel for the sound, feel for the sound, and he just puts his head back on, and it's just so weird. And I couldn't work out, is it because he's like a juvenile or a different kind of vampire that getting his head cut off doesn't kill him, that he's got to go for the heart? And even Jamie Foxx seemed puzzled the fact that he was still alive.
He said about it, didn't he? That they did talk about that particular type of vampire earlier, but it was quite strange that they chose to have him bitten by that type of vampire.
Yeah,
Because obviously you know that that's what would happen, I guess. Because you wouldn't turn into that type unless you were bitten by that type, I would imagine.
no, and he didn't really have a massive want to attack Jamie Foxx anyway. I mean, he said he was hungry, but it wasn't. I don't know. It just seemed like a strange choice. But I did like the comedy of. He says, "Right, let's go out. Let's do something. You need to go and rescue my family, and I'll help you." And the fact he sits in the car next to him, holding his head on his shoulders, and every time he goes over a speed bump, that his head comes off his shoulders is so good.
Oh, it was good. He's like, oh, I'm sorry. And it's the look on it's Franco's face. It's like, for fuck's sake. I'm freaking out. My head just keeps coming off. Yeah, I like it. It's good. It's silly, but it's good. And I think they do the comedy quite well in this film. Considering there's so much violence and gore, the comedy sort of rescues a lot of that. It is good.
Yeah, 100%. And it's so much so it rescued that scene of the major trope of the plot reveal.
Yes.
That it's good. And see if you can answer this, because I didn't understand why they go back to his complex, and obviously he goes to number 19 because he knows that woman who is his next door neighbor is a vampire, and that she explains that she's been turned by Audrey, and that Audrey kind of owns her. But I didn't understand why she didn't try and kill Jamie Foxx, that she was instantly on his side and wanted to help him rescue his wife and daughter. I didn't understand that.
I think she doesn't like the fact that she's been turned and is now being forced to do everything against her will, because she's basically said that she's forced me to go get close to you and all this type of stuff. So it's sort of revenge for her as well, isn't it? That's how I took it.
Yeah, I just didn't really understand that, but I mean, it does kind of set up the fact that Dave Franco is then fed blood, and that the want for him to eat any other humans has gone. It sets him up as kind of more of a partner. But what I didn't get is when they all kind of team up together and they go to this shopping mall, don't they? And you've got all of those guys there ready and waiting, the cannon fodder, and they start shooting at them. Are these guys vampires, or are they? Who are they? I didn't understand who they actually were.
I don't know if to use a Blade terminology, I don't know if they're familiars or they are actually vampires. It's not actually explained, is it? Because they're being stabbed like in the stomach and stuff like that and dying. So I'm guessing they're humans that are working for the vampires.
Yeah, because I think you're probably right, mate. Because when Franco gets shot, she says they're expecting humans, and they're using lead bullets, so it's absolutely fine. And I thought, well, who are they then for doing that? But possibly they are just familiars who are used as blood banks for the vampires, possibly. Then, I didn't even think about that. Thank God for Blade.
Yeah, that's it. Well done, Blade.
It explains this film. And again, you get the extra 17 minutes from Snoop Dogg when they're pinned down in this shopping centre and there's just nowhere else for them to go. Actually, before we do that, when they're fighting these familiars, these humans, how come Dave Franco, how come Seth suddenly from a desk jockey gets all of these moves and can take people on? Obviously, he's a vampire and he's stronger and quicker, but now he can fight and he's never been out in the field before.
Yeah, I know. That's his all of a sudden. I said that, to be fair, when I was watching it. I was like, just because you're now a vampire doesn't mean that you can do martial arts.
No, exactly.
It's absolutely a trait of being bitten, in which case someone bite me. Quite good to be proficient in martial arts and stuff. So
but it just doesn't make sense, does it? You can take people on, throw people, do like holds and kicks, and like, where did that come from? That was never there.
It's utter bollocks. It's convenient, isn't it? Unfortunately,
it is convenience, and it does lead to, again, a great moment when they're all pinned down and you learn that Seth Franco has texted Snoop that he comes out with this fucking chain gun, which is unreal, isn't it?
Oh, it's brilliant. Yeah, the minigun is just absolutely fantastic. Just stands there and just mows them all down. It's just fantastic. And
brilliant.
It's brilliant. The fact that James Franco then gives him a hug Jamie Foxx just fucking points the shotgun at him, going, "No, don't touch him. Don't."
Yeah, you don't. Yeah, it's so good. Yeah, big John Elliott mows them down, and visually it looks great when you actually see the bullets, like the traces of those bullets flying through the air, cutting people literally in half.
Yeah.
It just is so good, and yeah, it's great. And that's when you kind of get the teams. You get Jamie Foxx goes off with Snoop, and the other two the vampires then go off together, and it's great because they go down. You got this room, it's a manufacturing room full of weapons. They're making this sun cream, and Jamie Foxx. I just like the fact that you think, is this going to be another exhausting fight scene? But it isn't. He just whistles, and Snoop just mows everyone down.
Yeah, it's quite clever, isn't it? Rather than yet another fight scene.
Yeah.
It's just Snoop killing everyone with a fucking massive gun. Brilliant.
Yeah, it's the best way you could have dealt with it, because these two aren't proficient fighters regardless, and they would have got their asses kicked, and they just go for the violence. And yeah, but it did make me laugh when they're walking through the dead bodies, and you've got that one vampire who gets up and fights Snoop, and when Snoop does that flying roundhouse kick, and you know it's not him, and it's so funny.
Yeah, because that's Snoop, all right, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it just made me laugh so much. I thought, yeah, of course that's him. That really works out. Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny.
But it's weird because the rest of the film now, for being the climax, it starts to get worse and goes downhill. And I struggled, and I thought the grand finale was boring. Obviously, you've got them going through the tunnels and taking out the vampires, and you've seen that in so many different films, and I've not got a problem with that. And I was surprised that Snoop offered up to sacrifice himself. I don't know. I mean, seeing it now in hindsight, you think, yeah, that makes sense. But at the time, I was quite surprised. Was you, or not really?
No, I could see it happening. To be fair, it was just. You can imagine for him, it's a one-off. It's a nice payday, and a bit like Mace Windu. He wanted to go out in a blaze of glory. So,
yeah. I just didn't see it, but he gets. And in other films, when people get bitten at all, they're like, kill me, because that's it, I'm going to turn. I've only got a matter of time. I could turn at any moment. And once I do turn, I'm going to try and kill you. But in this film, even though Jamie Foxx saw Snoop get bitten on the neck, there was no talk about you're going to turn. There wasn't a concern that he is now a vampire. I couldn't work out why they didn't have that conversation.
I don't know. I can't. To be fair, I found it quite refreshing, the fact that he, Snoop just turned around and said, "No, I'm fine. Just leave it." And Jamie Foxx obviously respects him enough to say, "You know what? This is up to you, mate. It's your choice." It's it was quite nice that they have that relationship, that they know that if one doesn't want to talk about it, that's the end of it, sort of thing. So it was quite nice. I liked it, but.
It wasn't that I didn't like it. It was more the fact that I wanted to know, are you a vampire? Because it seemed like some rules didn't apply in this, or they had new rules. And I would just like to have known him to say, well, fuck me, you're going to be a vampire now. And it's like, well, I'm going to die. I'm not going to live anyway. So I'll just sacrifice myself. But
yeah, no, I get that. Maybe considering the amount of tropes in this film, maybe they thought that was too tropey. I don't know.
They've done their trope quota in this.
Yes. Well, they had a lot more to come in the final scene, so they thought, well, let's not over trope it right now.
Well, yeah, and it ends up with the two vampires fighting the henchmen, which that fight is a letdown. In any vampire film, you get young vampires who cannot even. My better half pointed this out, and when you watch things like. And the Vampire Diaries, which I really like, that they explain that I'm a 100-year-old vampire, and when they freshly turn people, even though they are full-on vampires, you're never going to be as strong as a 100-year-old vampire.
No.
So these two would have got their asses kicked by the henchman, who was obviously over 100 years old.
Yeah, and the way that they just rip his arms off, and then kill him. It's I suppose they're trying to be different, aren't they? But it wasn't very good. It wasn't very believable.
No, for me as the viewer, it wasn't very satisfying, and I didn't kind of go, "Whoa, that's brilliant! I've never expected that." It was just, nah. Let's see what's happening elsewhere in the film.
The thing is, though, and I think it's sad on the film's part that they really didn't build up any character arc at all for that dude in the suit or the main baddie. You know, her screen presence, fair enough, is not the greatest, but her arc, they didn't invest in her at all. So you weren't really bothered, were you? By this point,
No.
you didn't care.
No,
Him having his arms ripped off, you're like, oh well, I don't really know enough about him apart from the fact he's an old dude. You know?
yeah, completely. And I'd even go as far as to say that even Stephen Dorff's character in Blade, the first one, has got more of an arc and is more of a presence than this female. And obviously that character got criticised, or Dorff did, in Blade for being shy, and I thought he was even better than her.
I can't say I disagree with that completely. I thought he was very good.
Yeah, I did as well. I thought he was really good, really evil, and at the time I thought this guy's going to just be in everything from now on. He's brilliant.
Yeah,
But
well, we'll have to review Blade, I think, because that's upset me that people think that was the case.
yeah, it's really weird. But it's at the end of this, when you know what's going to happen. There aren't any stakes in this, to be honest. If he would have killed the wife, or she would have bitten the wife, and there's some kind of remedy that can save her, and the clock's ticking, and even if the wife died, it would have been good, because as you said earlier, mate, and we've both spoken about, we're not invested in the wife. She's not had any kind of arc, no screen presence. So if she dies, I don't really care. It doesn't bother me, because it's all about the child, end of the day. So it would have been nice, but you know that Jamie Foxx isn't going to die, and there's just boring, and there's no stakes. It doesn't make it exciting in the end. And I like the fact that when he does kill her, it is his trick that he's used so many times of putting that wire across those two walls, and she does get her head cut off. And I like that, because I just think I've never seen that in a film, and I think it works really well. Yes. But the build up to it was boring. It just wasn't climactic for me whatsoever.
No, mate, you're completely right. At the end of the day, because as soon as they decided, for no reason whatsoever, to take the wife and daughter to this temple underneath a shopping mall, you knew that they were both going to survive. Because if they were going to kill him, they would have killed him there and then. Because their whole plan was that he was going to be killed by, Dave anyway. Not Dave, whatever it is. Yeah, Dave anyway.
Yeah.
So what was the point? You knew what was going to happen, that they were going to be taken away, he was going to escape and come and rescue them. You knew how the film was going to end before it was anywhere near the end.
Yeah, because it was a strange choice. What does this tomb have to do with anything? It's not like they're sacrificing to bring a god back or anything like that. They could have done whatever they did in the living room of their house, and that's it.
Yeah, completely. It's unfortunately, unfortunately with a lot of films, it seems to lose its way for the final third or final quarter, don't they? They just seem to like to wrap these films up in really strange ways. And we've said it quite a few times with different films, and I don't know why they do it, because the final bit of the film's almost the most important bit, because that's the bit people remember the most. And
yeah, completely agree.
They just turn around and it makes it no stakes and not particularly fun. The fight wasn't even that fun, was it?
No.
The fact she was running around and kicking the shit out of him, and the mum and the daughter were just sitting there, crying about it. And it was fun that she got her head chopped off, but I thought the line at the end was a bit tropey as well. Oh, fucking pool cleaner and all this.
And there's no marks on him. For getting the shit beaten out of him, he's not marked up at all. And it does take the stakes away and the odds away from everything of, could this actually happen? Yeah, it's really, really strange, because up until the very, very last boss fight, I was there. And it ends with when they actually do escape. And obviously you've got and you knew this was going to happen, and I did enjoy it to a certain extent, but I kind of rolled my eyes when the boss of the union turns up and he tries to point out all the violations. And by this time, Dave Franco has completely turned. He's switched and he wants to be a hunter, and he corrects him and sticks up for Jamie Foxx on all of the violations. I got to admit, I was kind of bored. I was tapped out by this point.
Oh yeah, completely. It wasn't necessary. I guess it sort of put a little bow on that, didn't it? But yeah, they were trying to bring an element of comedy back into it and stuff, but no, it didn't really work.
No, completely. And it ends with them driving off and Snoop coming up from the sewers, lighting a cigar, and he's still alive. And is he still alive as a vampire? Is he still alive as a human? Are they going to make a second one? I mean, what do you think? What do you want?
I think he is a vampire, and I think it was just sort of his thing of I can survive anything. I guess he's Big John. Nothing can kill Big John.
Yeah.
But I'll be honest, I hope that they don't make a second one, because I think it's one of those films that are good as a one-off.
Yeah.
You've seen it. You don't need that again. There's no way you could sort of. I don't think you could carry it on, especially with the same characters. You'd have to change it to something different, I think.
Yeah. The only thing, because when I was obviously watching this, the only thing that made me think that them actually doing a second one is that when they're talking and when he goes into his like workshop, that they do reference what's his name, El Ghazi, I think they call him.
Right. Okay. And
they're saying that he is in the valley, that he's down as they say that El Jeffrey, that's it. And he's like a legendary 700-year-old vampire, a European vampire, and some say he's at the top of the LA drug trade. And he's not, and he's re-emerged. And they say that one of his fangs could buy the whole of Bel Air. And that kind of made me think he's not referenced through the rest of the film. And through them mentioning him, are they at some point going to do a second one when all of them are going to go hunt out this El Jeffrey? Who's like meant to be the big bad? Are they going to go to LA and do another film? So that kind of made me think. I don't know. Just
they could do. I mean, there could be an LA branch.
Yeah.
Anyway, and like you say, maybe follow different characters, or maybe Franco might be part of it. And now he's got his I want to go and hunt vampires thing. Maybe he wants to go after the big guy. I don't know. There is honestly didn't notice that, so well done to you. Personally, though, I hope they leave it.
No, definitely. I mean, that brings us on to would you score this film? Would you recommend it? And your best bits and worst bits. I know where your worst bits are going to be, but how do you feel?
To be fair, I enjoyed it. It is a romp at the end of the day. You know what you're going to get. It's funny, it's action packed, and it is over the top in places, but it's well worth a watch, because you don't get many vampire films these days. It's all bloody zombies and it's all the same bloody thing over and over again. So it was nice to see something a bit different, and I thought most of the people in it were really good. Dave Franco and Jamie Foxx together were fantastic. I like their comedy. Snoop was really fun in it as well. 17 odd minutes of it. So yeah, no, I definitely recommend it. It's worth a watch. I'd give it 3.5, I think, out of 5. It's definitely more enjoyable than not. Worst bit has got to be the car scene. It just takes you out of it completely. And the best bit is Snoop Dogg with a fucking minigun all day long. It's just so funny. Yeah,
completely agree. Yeah, I echo what you say entirely. It's weird because when I first watched this, because it was so different, I really, really enjoyed it, and I thought this is just a breath of fresh air on Netflix. There's nothing really like it. Yeah. And when you watch it another couple of times, again, when you watch it to review, it's always quite interesting because you're looking into it so much deeper, aren't you, of different things.
Yes.
Which is quite enjoyable. And yeah, I came away thinking as we've spoken about, that the last third of this film, for me, is a disappointment, and that which really affects my scores. I'd give it a 3 out of 5. But it's a good film. I really like the chemistry. I really like Dave Franco's character. I think he's a breath of fresh air to this film. And if it would have been done too Officer Dewey stupid, it just wouldn't have worked out. And I like the original twists they put on these, like the vampire myths of the way they can die and the different types of vampires. And again, the action is so good, and the stunt coordinators and that Chad Stahelski, you can see elements of what he's done in various films, and not the John Wick films as well. It is so good. I love the choreography and the use of the contortionists as well, and the fact that they brought them in due to COVID-19 so they could continue getting paid while Cirque du Soleil wasn't on is a really, really good idea.
Yeah,
but
it's a nice touch.
Yeah, I enjoyed this film. I think it's good fun. Like you, mate, I don't want to see a second one. I want it to just be, remember that film. It was a film you can go back to. But, I mean, it was very popular. And you know what Hollywood do, didn't you? So.
Well, that's the thing. And unfortunately, you'd imagine if people have really enjoyed this film and the fact that they're saying that people are flocking away from Netflix, maybe they will make another one to try and keep people. But we'll have to wait and see. I wouldn't be looking forward to it. Let's put it that way. So.
No, completely. And I mean, it scored reasonably well. Popularity is about 7%. So it's
Rotten Tomatoes, it didn't.
No, not Rotten Tomatoes. So
we care about that. It only got 58.
Because we all care about that. Yeah,
Idiots.
But yeah, so it'd just be interesting to see. Hopefully they don't, but who knows? But yeah, so. That's our review of Day Shift, which we've been wanting to do for quite a long time. And because we're super organised, we have no clue what we're going to do next.
No, we don't. All I can say is that She-Hulk is shit.
Oh, God, yeah. Quick She-Hulk chat. Are you still sticking with it at the moment?
I have to, because of the fact that we said we're going to do a podcast on it.
Yes.
But, yeah, my opinion has not changed at all in a positive way whatsoever. So I'm trying to get my frustrations out, to be honest. I sat there and watched it today, and I was just banging my head against the wall.
Do you know the last one they showed? It was weird. I sat and watched it, and I posted on, I think it was on Twitter, that I sat and watched 24 minutes of She-Hulk when only the last 30 seconds were relevant of showing Daredevil. Apart from that, it had nothing to do with the plot.
Oh, it's just.
It didn't, though, did it?
No, it doesn't. Do you know what, mate? And we will do a pod on it, but I don't see the point in this series. I don't get it. I don't understand it. I don't understand why they've done it. It doesn't bring anything to anything whatsoever. No. And I think it's an absolute embarrassment.
Yeah.
But that's just my opinion. Other people are allowed their opinions. And the fact that some of the people that have actually starred in it have turned around and said that if you don't like it, then you're a misogynist. It's just.
I don't get it. And we are clearly, from looking at social media, we are in the minority.
Clearly.
But it surprises me because I won't slag anyone off for liking it, because, as you rightly say, everyone's got their own opinions, and they are opinions, so they're not right and they're not wrong.
Exactly.
And we've obviously differed on loads of different things. Like, well, you mentioned it earlier, Doom. You really like Doom, and your Fight Its Corner. I can't stand it, and I'm the same with different films that we've looked. John Wick, and I don't understand. But for this, I don't understand why it's good, and that's where I sit there. On every episode, I'm waiting for that penny to drop and that eureka moment of, now I've got it. Now I understand, and I'm on your team. But I don't know when that will happen, and I don't know if it will happen.
I can't honestly see that happening. I'd love to when we do the podcast around it. I'd love to find someone that likes it to come on and explain to me why it's good.
Yeah.
I honestly cannot see any reason why anyone would think it's good. And I'd love to actually have a conversation with someone and ask them to please explain to me,
Yeah.
because I honestly cannot see it at all.
But if we can find somebody who likes it, when we do that review, we'll get them on the pod,
Yes.
and it will be interesting to get that point of view, because I'd love to understand, because as far as I'm aware from speaking on our group we've got through the podcast, that everyone is of the same opinion of where they are. They don't like it, and even my children who watch it separate from me, so I don't influence them, so I never like to influence any of them, but they're exactly the same, and they're massive Marvel fans. We've been to the cinema and watched all of the films together, so I don't know what I'm missing. I don't get it.
No.
And
Well,
yeah.
there you go. The gauntlet has been thrown down to any of our listeners. If you want to come and tell us why She-Hulk is good, you're more than welcome to come and do so.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we'll set up the pod. We'll do it at a time where it's convenient for you, and we'll get you on and freely talk about your opinions as to what we're missing on the Hulk. Yeah, contact us on Facebook, the Film Reel Cast. We're on Twitter, the Film Reel Cast, and the Film Reel Cast at gmail.com. Send us an email if you want to be on the pod and explain what we're missing. Educate us, because
yes, please.
I'd love to know. Honestly, we all would. So
yeah.
That wrapped up for this week. I will put out, if I can be bothered, what we're going to do next week, or just tune in next week, and we'll have another podcast waiting. If it won't be all four of us, it will no doubt definitely be myself and you, Neil, no doubt.
Oh yes, I am available next week, so I will be here.
Excellent. Well, as usual, thanks for joining us. I hope you enjoyed the podcast, and we'll be back next week. You take care.